Hey everybody, how's it going? Recording this ahead of Monday, but we'll be seeing this on Monday. So this will be our third to last our tape lecture. So we have less than 2 weeks left. How about that? Again, I'm pleased with the work I've seen overall. Some of the feature assignments have been coming in already. Don't forget that is actually the first thing that's going to be due on Monday. Okay, so that's our last regular season, some could say. And one thing I want to basically remind you guys is that actually the you might remember back to one beginning of this semester, which was only a few weeks ago, and the remember that I had that the I said that the last assignments actually count more than the actual first assignment. So you want to keep that in mind because actually we are now down to our last two assignments, and the feature assignment will count more than the other assignments. And then the major assignment will count even more. Again, the idea here is to grade on progress. It's not a good time to actually be kind of some of you have kind of like declined a little bit. Most of you have not, but in your grading and everything in your work. So I'd like to see that kind of like, it's not a good time for that to happen. So you might remember this is actually the rubric that's actually in the first week. Um, on the mod under the modules. See the last two assignments. The fifth assignment, which is each feature assignment, counts twice as much as one of these assignments. Okay, this being the profile assignment, this being the leads worksheet assignment, this being the football reaction rewrite, and this being the megalomania right here. Okay, this is the feature assignment. Okay, so that's, but if you look at it, this maybe an easier way to look at it is, well, the major assignment then counts 4 times of each of these costs. Okay, maybe an easier way to look at it is that your writing grade again is your 70% of your grade. Okay, and so those first 4 assignments each counted 10% each. The fifth assignment, which is the feature assignment, counts 20% of the 70% of your grade. Okay. And then the major assignment counts 40%. Don't forget that I really need those major assignment proposals. That's why I extended the megalomanias rewrite to Thursday. I really need them by Monday. Okay. End of the day. If it's late, then you get a full grade deduction on the major assignment. Okay. I had some issues with my remote class last semester. Vowed never to let that happen again. So here we are. Okay. Um, so yes, so you have so it's Monday, you're gonna have the feature assignment done. I mean, you're gonna have that's due. You have the major assignment proposal that's due on Monday. Okay. Um, so I'm actually gonna spend, but actually a couple other things too. Let's go to the assignment charts. Okay. Um, and what else is due? Okay. So, I mean, again, this is before Monday, so this isn't posted yet. The feature rewrite will be due a week from Monday. Okay. So again, anybody can rewrite if you haven't gotten an A. Few people actually got to get A's already. That's due July 3rd, Monday, July 3rd. Okay. So keep that in mind. Okay. That'll be posted too. Remember, it's a separate entry. Okay. And then the major assignment entry will actually be posted. So you have the major assignment proposal. Okay. That's there. That needs to be handed and submitted in today, Monday. The feature assignment that needs to be submitted in today, Monday. Okay. And the megalomania rewrite that needs to be submitted to this entry on Thursday, by Thursday. Okay. Then on Monday, you have the feature rewrite again, and then the major assignment, which is due a week from Friday. Okay. So you have some plenty of time on that. Those all should be like ready to approve by Tuesday. So you have from Tuesday until a week from Friday to do. So you have more than a week and a half to actually do that. That's what the whole idea is supposed to be. Okay. Um, the major assignment, basically for the assignment, you'll write your own proof topic for major assignment. The idea is that reporters have to be self-managers and think of ideas on their own. No matter what your topic here is, that description here's what the description should focus on. I mean, I've talked about that. You keep it simple, something that's manageable. I mean, I'm really kind of going for more like, I'm really kind of, when somebody comes up with an idea for like a reaction to the story or something like that, like whether it's Ukraine or this thing happening with Putin where he's almost run out of a power, I guess, or maybe even something that's happening locally with like, Actually, I was going to show you an example of a proposal that worked. This is from Jack. I mean, it's just something simple right here. I like that my topic to be the roommate selection process. I could ask students to reflect on past experiences, such as random selection of friends from high school. I mean, basically what I just told them was, this is all fine and good. Just basically really like, don't make this a major investigative story. It'd be really good. And it's really like something that's actually underreported, really. The people's reaction to things, okay? Especially things like may seem as basic as like the roommate selection process. You know, a lot of people always have a lot to say about that. Does it always have to be like reserved for a dinner table conversation? Why can't that be talked about in a newspaper or a news site or on TV or anything? Because sometimes it's really whack. I mean, my brother went to Rutgers too, and I remember he went on and on and on about how he would like, maybe they didn't believe him, but you know, he could not, he was had, I think he lied. He said he had asthma and all this stuff, and he couldn't have a smoker and all this stuff, and blah blah blah. And they still gave him. They not only gave him a smoker, they gave him a chain smoker. Okay, so this is something that actually is something that's actually always kind of been around. But that's the whole idea of the media, is to kind of shine a spotlight on it, so maybe people can connect, relate to it, and learn. Okay, so that's the proposal that needs to come in on Monday, and then once you work on that proposal, once I agree to that proposal, then you work on it. Okay. All right. Remember, this is 800 to 1100 words, so it's twice as long as what we've been doing already. There's no rewrites. You really should submit rough drafts to me. Okay. So rewrite in reverse. Again, this is what we do on a project, is you actually work ahead of the deadline, not behind it. Okay. So, you know, I mean, like, this is actually, the story itself is actually going to be like kind of written like the typical stories we've been doing already. Okay. But it's just that it's going to be longer and it's going to require more reporting. Okay. Something that basically, yes, I want something that to be manageable and done in a week and a half. But I also want something that has like more, maybe a little more substance. Instead of interviewing 3 people, you need 6 people. Okay. Roommate selection process will probably like get like a lot more reaction, maybe a lot more, a wider array of opinions than maybe the football team, which just basically has one opinion, and that is that the football team sucks and they spend too much money. The roommate selection process is something probably a little more complex and complicated that probably could have like 5, 6 different perspectives on it. Okay, so I think that's a good, lengthier, more in-depth topic, but something that's also manageable given the time. Okay, these were some of the examples that I actually put on the assignment entry itself. You know, actually, this was somebody who did the housing selection process. And again, I mean, you can do an anecdotal lead or you can do a straight lead. This person decided, Oregon decided to do a straight lead. The housing selection process, I mean, it's roommate selection process is a little different than that. A housing selection process basically is like, am I going to be living in a place that's like full of bugs? Am I going to living in a place that's going to be like close to where I need to go, close to my classrooms? You know, I mean, again, it's something that's kind of like a little meaty there that you can kind of dig into, and maybe like a wider array of perspectives. The football reaction is again more narrow. Okay, some students say a seniority doesn't guarantee good housing for juniors and seniors, and the lottery is unfair. So that's one transition right there. Peyton Jordan, a Rutgers student, says that the lottery system at Rutgers is abysmal compared to other universities. Maybe not the greatest like anecdote right there. I'll probably like to should have had her like some of the quotes are a little bit long. You know, but basically there's still like decent anecdotes. Joaquin Mati says that for incoming sophomores, the only way to get a decent place to stay is to get out of the Rutgers housing entirety. So that's like something that maybe shows a little emotion. Matthew says that he once learned about where he could have most likely end up. He said that once he learned where he might end up, immediately began his search for off-campus housing. So that's anecdotal. That's like real on the ground reporting. You're being there with them. You're connecting with them. You're relating to them. He said that he would have a far better chance there. See, many students have detailed that even when they search for on-campus housing, it can be sometimes hard to find because of the recent surplus students. Because he was recently started looking for off-campus housing, but struggles to find a good deal or even a spot with many students moving on campus. Good anecdote. Again, like something relatable, something personal experience that somebody's going through. See, it's kind of following the same kind of featurey kind of process, but just longer and more, and it has more perspectives. Okay. I told you like some of the international students might be wondering, like, you know, here's somebody who actually did the reaction to the plane crash. I talked about that. Again, this is something that's also, there's a link to this story in the assignment tree itself. It's still affecting many people. It makes people frustrated about it. Here's somebody who was actually like, I think some people said this is still shocking for them. A passenger was planning to take, said he was actually, this person actually managed to get a passenger, said that he was planning to take another flight to Shanghai for work. He was shocked when he heard the news. It was actually a potential passenger. He said that he hardly heard of a major accident on the flight before. This time he heard that the plane suddenly and rapidly. See, it's not about the actual accident itself. It's about his reaction to it, and basically, it's giving an anecdote about like his personal feelings and emotions about it, which is shock, and then like how he felt when he actually learned the news of it. That's an anecdote. That's anecdotal information, on the ground, relatable reporting. Okay, a man named this. I can't pronounce the name. Sorry, due to work reasons. He often needs to fly to different cities to meet customers. In addition to China's high-speed trains, the plane was the most common transportation for him. But after this accident, he can't scared to get on a plane. Again, personal emotions. He was terrified to think about the plane. These actually has better anecdotes. It was such a high sky and killed everyone on that flight. Okay, he was afraid that something would happen to him. Okay, and then maybe a quote, unless I'm going to a very far city, I won't take the plane anymore. Now I feel that China's high-speed train is the safest. Okay. All right. Jawin did a very good job on that, and that was an A. Okay, and then again, these are also, again, how there's links to them. Okay, I also like provided a video and like basically how this whole process, similar to what I did with the feature assignments. But I mean, if anybody is actually looking for like maybe people to be like quoted on a certain issue, I can put up and much. And by the way, don't forget, I have the I'm sorry, long weekend. I have the discussion point for the feature assignment still up. I still like to see people contribute to that, provide anecdotes, that sort of thing. So anyway, if anybody has a topic that maybe they would like to see, like maybe get like quotes from students, that sort of thing, I could put up a discussion topic for them specifically if you'd like. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right. Now here's like a video. I just wanted to show you basically like how to go through the whole steps. It's very similar to the things I've already discussed, but just basically going through the steps of actually putting together this feature assignment. I'm sorry, this major assignment. Okay. All right, so let's talk a bit about the major assignment. Interesting thing about this is that, and let me go to that a bit. Actually, stop shit first. Is that again, this kind of story is like, I'm not necessarily looking for feature story. I'm not looking for really anything. Actually, this is really a story where you really got to like be like your own self manager. Something I talk about all the time in digital media, where you got to basically really kind of like think for yourself here and like come up with your own structure. I may have said this in the past. I just want to change one thing. You can use an anecdotal lead if you want. That's fine. But I want to make sure that actually like people understand that this is not supposed to be like a research paper. Okay, this is still a news story. I've seen a couple of examples that people have sent through where you felt like you needed to have again like a really long kind of like beginning or preamble to it. Just so you know, this is actually the week where you actually really start like developing rough drafts, like showing me that. I know I've given you guys assignments to do, and you want to have the weather assignment rewrite done, but this is actually just the last week, so we really got to like get going on this. Okay. I mean, you gave me the ideas. You gave me good ideas. I think I've approved everybody's idea. A couple of you just wanted to actually change. That's fine too, just as long as you get it done. I think right now it might be a little bit late to change at this point, because you got a week to do. But again, I'm not looking necessarily for. I apologize if some of this is actually like, maybe a little bit out of the context, but anyway, I get to a better point. So, like, major research paper here. Okay. Not trying to make an example of anybody. I actually really appreciate the fact that this student actually sent me his rough draft early. But one thing I want you guys again to avoid is the research paperese. That they tend to think. I mean, this is a news story. Okay, it's a news story. It's just longer, 800 to 1,000 plus words. That's it. Okay, so basically it's twice as long as what you're typically doing. And again, don't forget that the weather assignment counts twice as much as the previous assignments did, and then this is going to count 4 times as much. So you really got to make sure that you get it right, and you really want to make sure that you get it to me so I can see it. But what you really got to do though is also remember that we're sticking with the same line here, and that is that we're still writing news stories here. Like this story right here had an incredibly long beginning. Okay, and again, this is just a rough draft. It was sent a while ago, which I appreciate. Actually, the second draft was much better. So this year, the summer class to Rutgers. This is actually a story about how essentially the summer class changes. Summer class schedule changes like all the time or something like that, and it kind of throws people off kilter and that sort of thing. But this is actually not like the data journalism assignment. This actually is essentially what I told them, a reaction story. Okay, this if you really wanted, if I really wanted to drive you crazy and have you hate going to Rutgers and everything, I would have you do like a full complete story where you would have to interview like administrators and officials and into all their decision making and everything. But that would be like a really long story and require a lot of research that you don't have the time to do. Okay, sorry, you don't. Okay, so what I'm actually looking to do is actually just do a story that is very specific, and that is specific is essentially the students reacting to the changes in the scheduling. Okay, that's a good story, and it can get a voice out there that is specific, and also maybe get to the administration themselves. Ideally, I would like to maybe get some administration reaction to respond to the students in the story, but this is much more simple and much better within our time constraints, just to work as a reaction story, students reacting to this. Okay. This year's summer classes for Rutgers students will not be as flexible as they were private year. Well, first of all, that's actually a little bit of an opinionated statement there. The change in how summer classes is being presented is because Rutgers has begun to open up the school since it's kind of going into all this explanation about why they're doing it, which I don't really need. It's also coming, is that from the administration? I don't know. There's a lot of setup here. The pandemic coming down, most students will be in person this year. The schedule, the reaction. Now we finally get to the story. This is where the story is right here. Now, this is not an anecdotal lead, okay, that I'm looking for. An anecdotal lead would be, again, focusing on somebody's specific crisis involving the summer class scheduling. But instead, there's just a lot of setup about why the university is doing this, but we're not getting to the story, which is right here, okay? Which is what I asked to do. The reaction from students to the release of summer classes schedule has been met with dissatisfaction. A little bit of a passive voice statement. Most students say, "Oh, that's another cardinal sin. No first person." Just say many students believe it is better for summer class to be online than in person. It can be the first transition right there. Now we get into like another point, flexibility. There's just like tons of setup before we even get to like an individual student. Okay. And no, that's not how we're doing it. I mean, if you want to get to 800 words, you don't do it by padding. Don't do it by like just going to the whole explanation about how summer classes work. Before we even get to a student, it's how many words? It's 176 words. So it's almost 200 words before we even get to like a student. Okay. And this is actually about students and the reaction. If you want to get it to 800 words, just interview more students, interview 7, 8, and you'll get their individual experiences, that's all. You have to get more substance as opposed to more style. Okay. More reporting, that's all. And I said this to you guys, I think, earlier in the semester, and that is, again, like, if you ever do go into this field, you ever get asked the question, are you a better reporter than a writer? Okay? You always want to say reporter, because the substance is what carries the day. That Guy Talese story I showed you before was a feature story, very stylistic, the whole thing. But he actually worked to get that information. There was substance in that story. It wasn't just style. He actually basically, like, not stalked, but basically, like, he couldn't interview Frank Sinatra, first of all. He had to basically interview everybody around him, So that requires work. That means interviewing, getting people, getting information from people, as much information you can from people, to paint pictures within the whole story. You know, to paint scenes, to paint at to tell anecdotes, that sort of thing. And you just build that into a larger story. Okay. So then, you know, the rest of the story actually does deal with the students and their reactions. Okay, which is good. Okay. But it didn't need all that setup. Okay. All right. Let me get out of here. So anyway, let me like go into some of your ideas that you guys had to show how this can be approached. Those of you who live, I guess, China right now, you actually, a bunch of you actually talked about this accident, I guess, that had happened, and involving a plane. I guess it was in China. I guess it's horrible. I'm very sorry to hear that. I'm on the wrong spot. And I just wanted to basically say that, like, that's a fine, it's a horrible tragedy, but I mean, it's a good story to do. But what I suggested was actually like just basically, you know, just sticking with the, you know, maybe like the reaction or the impact that this has had on people. Okay, and so in case you're wondering, like, why? Oh my God, what happened there? I had to change locations because the cord was over here and I was running out of battery. So, so it was it. Sorry about that. Boy, asynchronous running, right? All right. So, let me actually talk about that. Anyway, so there was this idea that I actually approved a bunch of people. A bunch of people lived in China that had this idea right about the plane crash, and I basically said that, okay, so again, like, you don't necessarily want to write about the plane crash that happened. You want to get into maybe the nitty gritty of that, investigative piece, that sort of thing. You know, everything about journalism. Why am I asking people to like shy away from that? I mean, it's not like I'm trying to teach people how to be like shy away from storage or something. I'm trying to teach people how like to do things that they're able to do, to understand, first of all, the importance of like following instructions. Second of all is the importance of time management. And third of all is basically not overshooting or undershooting. Okay, basically knowing what you can do within the time frame allowed. Because one thing you're going to notice that if you do stick with journalism classes, is that it's going to be a lot more about actual, you know, again, self-management, coming up with your own ideas. You know, and when you come up with your own ideas, you got to be able to understand. Well, you got to do what you can only do. Okay. This actually was from John Wynn. My topic of this assignment is the air crash that happened on March 23rd, 2022 in China. It caused off 132 people died. There are thousands of airplanes that fly every day. It's important transportation, blah, blah, blah. So what I said was, this can work, but you got to make this about today. What is the latest? Who's reacting? But really, it's about this: who's reacting. Okay. So what I suggested to everybody was basically just this: that you should just get reaction from people that basically like might feel personally affected by this. I mean, it's not been, maybe I'm off kilter or something, but you know, I'm old enough to remember when like plane crashes like this, unfortunately, happened to seem like every other month. And you know, I like to think that, you know, air travel has actually improved a lot since then. And I mean, a lot of people were afraid to go up in the sky, but now, I mean, you really heard about this kind of thing, and it does happen. It's like shocking. So what I would like to see is like, actually, I'm just going to use my little whiteboard here. Okay. You know, basically, you would have a lead that would basically address, obviously, the China plane crash, but it's not necessarily about, you know, think about the sliver of the angle you got to go with here. It's not about the China plane crash itself, but, you know, maybe like you focus on one specific group. Maybe it's like people in whatever town are still feeling upset about, still are still shocked, even are still the plane crash had killed 32 people in China. I mean, you're going to submit this trial May 2nd, so we'll just say March, okay? I mean, something as simple as that, you know. Just, I mean, I would have to think that if there was something that happened, let's say, even in California, which is 3,000 miles from me, as a plane crash like that, I would think I could find 8 people in New Jersey, which is 3,000 miles away, who would still be upset about this because it happens so infrequently and it's so shocking and it kind of raises things. It raises questions, not just among like transportation officials or people like that, but you know, the people want to know, am I able to fly safely? You know, a lot of people are like worried now going up in the air because now they just got rid of the mask mandate, basically. And I'm not really sure what's going to happen with that because I guess the Biden administration here is going to try to reimpose it. But you know, a lot of people are just afraid to go up in the air because they're afraid to get COVID. But to add this, I mean, actually, I have to be honest with you. You might even be able to get 8 people in New Jersey to react to this China crash because to hear about this happening ever it's again, when I like back in the 70s and 1980s, it's much more common. It's horrible that, but happen now, even anywhere. It's like, wow, you know, I would probably react to that. You know, like, God, what's going on here? How did it happen? You know, so I mean, so we're already dealing with the crisis in the skies of people like fearing about getting sick, but also be worried about like maybe a plane actually like falling out of the sky. It's horrible. Something like that happened around 9/11. It was actually a plane that crashed like probably a couple weeks after 9/11. I think it was. It crashed in the Rockaways, New York City. It was horrible. And again, that raised the whole question of terrorism. So that's another thing that's obviously been on people's minds for a very long time. Is that an issue? I don't know. Obviously, this story of Bobby would have some background, but not too much. You want to get people familiar with what happened, but you have to kind of make that as like a secondary information. It's more about the people reacting. So you know, I don't know. I'm just going to John Brown. You know, you get maybe, or actually, I'm sorry. You get a transition. Say some people say they're worried about the safety of air travel. So again, it's all about the reaction and what's going through people's minds right now. You know, so you break this into transitions. John Brown said he hasn't heard of tragedy like this in a while. He's wondering if it's safe to fly anymore. And then maybe like into his own personal experience, you know, maybe Brown uses air travel for his job. Now he's thinking, I don't know, about using a car service or something, or a bus. See, anecdotal information. See, and then what you do is just kind of pile these together. This is just like every other story we've been doing, right? Just that it's longer. We go one person at a time, you know, and then maybe a quote. You know? And then we use another transition. I mean, we use the one I just used, okay? Others say, you know, they already have to about safety, their health safety, speaking of America, I guess, now that the mask mandate has been eliminated for the time being. This just compounds problems, they say. See another transition, right? And then you basically have
Come on.
Fred Jones said he's I'm gonna say something. He's just going to avoid planes altogether. Of course, you know, this could also be a mixed reaction story. You know, others say that while the incident was horrible, this, you know, plane travel is still the safest kind of transportation. You know, And Peters said, you know, she feels completely safe while in a plane, and then maybe like she'll put on a movie to relieve her jitters. That's what most always. I still feel that way, like in the plane. Right? So you can see again, we're going in the whole same pattern, right? We've got lead, transition. Very good. And whoa. And then transition. And go. Okay. Voila. Right there. Okay. So it basically follows the same pattern we followed before. Okay. Now, again, if you wanted to do something like maybe an anecdotal lead, I mean, I'm going to go back into the assignment, make sure that like I think I had a line in there basically saying that like no, just straight leads. I'm going to change that. Okay. But anecdotal lead would be fine if you want to do something like that. You don't want to just take like an anecdote. You take it, from here. We take it. You would normally put in the middle of the story. Maybe put it at the top. And then basically, then you would have something like, this would become a nut graph. Jones is among many still shocked plane crash, and it's made them rethink. Of course, this is about a couple of opinions here, but whatever. The whole transportation, whatever. Using Ullman. Okay. So this would be like Fred Jones said he's going to go avoid planes altogether after the, and you want to point a little context here, after the China plane. Actually, I put excellent. You got an anecdote here. I'm sorry, transition. Together, was already he was already worried going up in a plane. Getting all the descriptions, sweating as he holds the handles, the armrest of the plane and takes off. Okay, so then you got these teases up here, and then you go into a nut graph. Okay. All right, so that's that story. So again, we're kind of following the same pattern we've done before. Just again, it's just long. If you want more information, interview more people. That's it. Or maybe you just get deeper information from people. You have to tell more of their story. Okay. All right. So I'm here. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of give everybody like an opportunity to see how it was basically crafted, and you captured myself talking about it last year. So I felt like that was like, somebody showing me a draft and how that could basically essentially be crafted into something that's good. Okay. All right. So that's it, guys. So let me know if you have any questions. And I know I said in that previous video, it's now that we can see some drafts. Well, it's not quite there yet, but basically start thinking about doing that, by the end of this week or early next week. Okay. I mean, the latest early next week. Okay. Sending me a rough draft of the final assignment. Okay. And don't forget everything else that's due as well. Okay. Thanks very much. And I will be talking to you.